Hey guys, so today we have another video talking about skin and also my skincare journey. I'm going to be sharing some really helpful tips that I've learned throughout my struggle with acne and a lot of painful inflammation and scarring and all of those things. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys some tips that actually really helped me clear up my skin. And no matter what sort of horrendous breakout I have, no matter how bad it is, as long as I apply these tips and use the products that I'm going to be sharing with you guys, I can clear even like the worst breakout in just a week. I really stand by the things that I've learned and I'm really excited to share them with you guys. I want to talk about different parts of the face, and I think that's actually tip number one. You don't have to think of your face as one piece of skin. You can literally think of your face as a map, and you can sort of like chart off different sections of your skin. So for me in particular, my skin type actually differs from like my nose down, especially in the area around my cheeks. My skin is really dry and really sensitive and extremely easily irritated, and I'm prone to really painful acne there, and also like any sort of like reaction. So if I'm ever gonna have allergic reactions to any sort of product, it's going to show up on my cheeks first. And then from my forehead up and even like on my temples, my skin there is sort of more tough and I get different sorts of breakouts there. I actually get really small pimples on my forehead instead, and they sort of appear underneath the skin. So rather than being breakouts, it's a combination of breakouts and sort of like a textural issue. So I have two different kinds of acne on my face, and it took me separating my skincare routine from the top of my face and the bottom of my face to sort of finally figure out what was going on and to finally treat the different types of acne that I was having. So tip number one, which is my most important tip in this entire video, so I put it first so you guys will know. If you're having different skin concerns on your face, just separate it. Think of your face as different plots of land and you just need to treat it differently. Actually, it seems like such a simple concept, but I had never really heard of anyone else doing this, and I don't want to say that I like invented this method because I surely did not, but it was just a little bit harder for me to figure that out because no one was really talking about it as a method to help clear up your skin. So what I did for my cheeks was I needed to really tone down the kind of products that I was using. I'm going to talk more in specifics about what sort of things I did as my other tips, but I just really needed to be extremely gentle with my skin, like around my cheeks, and cleanse better for my skin. And on my forehead, I actually needed to use products that had antibacterial properties, and that really helped with texture. I find that the pores on my forehead get clogged extremely easily, and that was leading to the majority of my issues with those pimples underneath the surface of my skin and also white fleshy bumps. So I can't use a lot of the skincare products that I used on the rest of my face. So absolutely no serums and no moisturizers. The only thing that I can actually really use on my forehead for moisture is a really lightweight non-comedogenic facial oil, which means that it won't clog my pores, or a hydrating toner. And those are the only things that I can actually use on my forehead aside from my Curology medication, which I still use pretty frequently to this day. And I think that one is just more of a medication. And my Curology formula actually has antibacterial ingredients in it. So I find that that's an amazing thing to use for my forehead, and I think that that helped a lot with the texture because I think the white bumps underneath the forehead is treated very easily with just some sort of like antibacterial medication. So tip number two, let's just talk a little bit about skincare ingredients, because I remember when I first started looking into skincare, I was so overwhelmed with a lot of the scientific names that was going on because it was chemicals this, chemicals that, and I didn't know what was going on, and there was a lot of information to absorb. So tip number two, I'm just gonna break it down really easily for you guys. So the miracle trio for me that I always have to have in my skincare routine is anything that's brightening, anything that's anti-inflammatory, and anything that is also antibacterial. And you can mix and match all sorts of things to, you know, fit those categories. So for brightening, in the past, I've used things that had vitamin C or niacinamide, and for antibacterial, I still use my Curology formula to this day, and that sort of takes care of that for me. So as long as I had those three things in my skincare routine, it sort of just straightened things out for me, and as long as I followed that sort of like 3-step rule, general, my skincare routine and choosing my skincare routine has always been easier for me and less overwhelming. So tip number 3 is to be gentle when exfoliating. And this is one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning of the video when I was talking about new things that I was doing for my cheeks in particular to sort of cater more to the sensitive areas of my skin. And that is to be extremely gentle and to use things like chemical exfoliants and also BHA, which I'm going to talk about because I haven't really talked that much about BHA in the past, and I don't think I've even featured it in a skincare routine video, and I think that is long overdue because BHA is one of my favorite skincare ingredients. So I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but I can't stress it enough. You should really avoid using physical exfoliants that are really rough on the skin. So anything that has like a really rough texture, anything that's going to sort of like rip down your skin barrier, or like any like rough facial brushes that you use for cleansing, just throw them away. You don't need them. Your skin doesn't need them. It's only going to irritate your skin worse. And in the past, when I didn't really know anything about skincare, I would just over exfoliate all the time to try to cleanse my skin more to get rid of the acne, and that was extremely counterproductive because all I was doing was just irritating the acne more and also irritating the skin around it and just causing so much damage to my skin, and it broke me out more and more and more. If you're looking for more cleansing, try a double-step cleansing routine instead, which is cleansing with an oil first to remove makeup, excess oil, or like dirt from your face, and then cleanse with any sort of cleanser afterwards. So that will take care of cleansing if you need more of it, or if you need to take care of texture by exfoliating, look into chemical exfoliants instead in the form of AHAs or BHAs. I specifically recommend the 2% BHA liquid from Paula's Choice. I've had that for a really long time. I've been using it for a really long time. I've had so many refills, and it's just an amazing, simple, and effective product. And that leads us into tip number 4, which is to use BHAs to target particularly stubborn pimples. And this has been a really, really amazing tip for me because for me in particular, I always seem to have pimples that last for like an insane amount of time. Like I'll get a pimple and it'll pop on its own, of course, and you know, nature will run its course and my products will do their magic. But for some reason, I'll still have that pimple, or at least traces of it, for like up to weeks. It's so annoying. So once a pimple has already popped, BHA can actually like penetrate the pimple and it can get really deep into the pore and clean it out. And it sounds really gross, but it's actually super amazing because I found that the reason why I had pimples that would persist for so long was because the problem was actually deep within the pore itself, and I think the products I was using wasn't really getting deep enough into the pore to fix my problematic pimple. So yeah, I finally found an amazing product to help target really, really annoying pimples that won't go away even after you've been treating it for a long time. So tip number 5 is our last and our final tip, and it is the most simple tip that I have, which is to try to avoid anything with fragrances or dyes. And I think more often than not, we will find fragrances in our skincare routine, and as someone with extremely sensitive skin, having fragrances in my skincare routine is generally something that I don't want to do. Realistically, sometimes I will still fall in love with a product that has fragrance, and by some miracle it won't irritate my skin in particular, but generally speaking, I really want to avoid having any sort of fragrances in my skincare routine because it's just an unnecessary ingredient in skincare that does nothing but to really irritate your skin, and I don't think we really want that in our skincare routine. So I would just avoid fragrances in case you know, you're having allergic reactions or breakouts or anything that's sort of unexplained that's happening to your skin. Just look through your skincare routine and try to toss out anything with fragrances. That leads us to the end of this video, where I at least want to give 2 shout outs to 2 brands that I felt like helped me learn a lot through my skincare journey and actually had extremely helpful and efficient products, and that is Paula's Choice, like I've already mentioned, and also Curology, which I have already mentioned. So again, Paula's Choice, my favorite skincare brand to exist. They are so amazing, fragrance free, and just really thoroughly clinically tested. So I really trust their products. Trying one of their cleansers randomly like 3-4 years ago was honestly the best thing that ever happened to my skin. I just didn't know it yet. And Curology, I know a lot of you guys think that they're really gimmicky, but actually for me in particular, the formula that I had really saved my skin, and without having that sort of starting point, I don't really think that I would have learned anything else because I wouldn't have been able to clear my skin without them. This video is not sponsored by any of these brands that I've been talking about. This is just really what truly has worked for me, and because I have had, you know, partners with these brands in the past, I feel like some of you guys were a little bit hesitant to know whether or not my feelings were actually genuine, but you know, you guys can see the results for yourselves that I had so much acne in the past and I struggled so much with it for so long, and now I don't have those issues anymore. You know, it was a combination of efforts from me and also learning a lot from these brands. So that is the end of this video. I know it's kind of lengthy. There was a lot that I wanted to share that I could never fit into a skincare routine video because there's a lot of information that I wanted to share and to talk about. So I hope you guys learned something from this video. I hope it was helpful. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you guys again next week.